The most powerful podcast in the universe, the Crack Cellar. Put on your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar, as the prophecy was foretold. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And I'm Broadcaster Nickels.
And today, Broadcaster, is a special day. It is a day that we see the sunset on the Nick Cage rating system and the sunrise on our brand new rating system. What do you feel right now? Is it like a piece of your soul is dying, Broadcaster? How do you feel posthumous?
I like throwing things in the pit. So
300's a great movie.
It's always a fan of, just seeing a society that just has a pit. They throw everything they don't like into.
Indeed, Broadcaster.
Season 2's rating system goes to the pit.
It does indeed, and today we start the illustrious Season 3 of this little podcast that could, Broadcaster. How surprised are you that we're still going 58 episodes in?
It just feels like an old hat now.
It does kind of.
Just do it.
Just do it.
One day we'll be in archives some kind. They won't understand. No context. Be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, the world just blows up and the only thing left is my personal hard drive somehow survives the apocalypse and some aliens find it 1,000
fucking
years
RSS feeds just going through the wave links throughout the universe. So they're picking up old podcasts from Earth.
The most powerful podcast in the universe, the Crack Cellar.
Oh man, there's our fucking slogan going forward. The most powerful podcast in the universe. I like it. Put that in the books.
So, Season 3, I did the first rating system, you did the second, and now it's back to me for the third, and this time I've decided to
no one discussed this with me, by the way. I want the fans to know that whatever you think of this rating system, I had no input creatively.
Right. And I gave the same warning for Season 2, so, yeah.
But there was no confusion or question of the creativity from Season 2.
Oh, true. It spoke for itself. This time around, we're going with the Ghostbusters rating system. This will be rating based off of the villains of Ghostbusters, not some lame ass shit where we're doing Winston and Egon and fucking. But nah, man, we're going in hot.
Slander a dead man's name, fictional name.
Hey man, Egon is my favorite Ghostbuster. Okay, everyone loved Venkman when I was growing up, but fucking Egon was my boy always. So don't come at me with that bullshit, Broadcaster
Egon
Nickels.
Was the lynch. I mean, he was the only one actually making that shit.
Oh,
they could use.
Yeah, I just as a little kid, and the thing with the Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters movie, is that's one of the first movies I ever saw in my life. It was the original Tim Burton Batman, and a few others that I literally saw on VHS when I was 2 years old, 3 years old. And they're just these formulative, primal, movies that base my entire, probably taste and everything is really based on this shit. So when I say that Egon Spangler was one of my favorites, I don't even just mean it in the movie. I mean it in the fucking cartoon that I watched religiously. One of the only things in my entire life I've ever willingly woke up at 7 a.m. for is the Ghostbusters cartoon circa 1990, 91, 92. Destination TV for me, Broadcaster Nickels. So I respect the Spangler. Don't you ever forget it.
I think I may have watched a couple episodes. Can't quite recall what the Ghostbusters cartoon was about.
Well, basically the concept was that the Ghostbusters cartoon is exactly like the movie, but in the cartoon, the movie is based on them. So like they'll actually bring up the movie and be like, "Oh, those fucking stupid Hollywood actors pretending to be us." It was super meta. This is like, especially at that age.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty meta.
It was awesome. And to this day, I love that cartoon. I rewatched it recently with my daughter, and I couldn't believe how well it holds up. It is a very good cartoon to this day, way better than most of the garbage they produce now. And the S rank on our new system is going to be the Boogeyman, the premier villain from the Ghostbusters cartoon. What do you think about that, Broadcaster?
Well, don't know who that
is. It's going to be controversial, I know. I think most Ghostbuster fans didn't watch the TV show. So
I see. So you're trying to be like some little edgelord here.
This is going to be my controversial pick of the rating system. Number 2 at the A rank, I think everyone's going to agree on, or higher, the Marshmallow Man. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man he was the Ghostbusters. Like, Gozer was kind of like, okay, some weird ass dude who looks like Prince in a jumpsuit, shoots lightning.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Marshmallow Man was what it was all about back in the day, at least for the kids.
For sure. There's 3 iconic entities from Ghostbusters, and that's Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, the green slime. Whatever, is that what his name is?
Slimer,
and the image itself, the ghost with the cancel circle.
Mm-hmm.
I think those 3 things are the most iconic Ghostbuster images in the world.
Definitely. So then we get to B rank, which is going to be Gozer. You know, Gozer, the original transgender villain. We're giving he, him, Zer some respect. We're saying, all right, you're not the worst, you're not the best, you're right smack dab in the middle as far as I'm concerned. And I think we're being generous. I think there's some arguments that Gozer is kind of a dud compared to a lot of the other Ghostbusters villains, especially if you include the cartoon, which I do, obviously. Like, think about Ghostbusters 2, the very beginning, like that trial where the ghosts of like the bandits appear. Do you remember that? It was some brothers that were criminals.
Are you talking about the cartoon?
No, I'm talking about the Ghostbusters 2, the movie. It starts off with
you're talking about the museum?
No, it's in a trial. Like, there's like a trial. I don't know. Well,
it's been a while.
Yeah. It's basically like 2 brothers that were executed, like on the electric chair, and like they appear as ghosts, and they were really fucking cool. There's a lot of like little one-off cool ghosts in Ghostbusters that, you know,
I think I faintly remember that. 2 electric chair victims.
Yeah.
2 electric chair victims, ghosts.
Yeah, and then like the one that always cracked me up when I was a kid was the rich chick with the mink coat where it comes alive and like the mink start trying to eat her from the coat. There's a lot of classics to choose from that, you know, couldn't make the cut. So Gozer, you got some respect a little bit. And going down to C rank, we got Vigo.
You're doing my boy Vigo dirty, dude.
Here's another controversial one. I think Vigo is more of an idea than an actual villain. That's the problem I have with him, and that's why he ranks lower. He's just like, he's a picture on the wall for 90% of the movie, right? Like, he's not real, really.
Do you remember the kids' scary classic movie series Boogeyman? The Boogeyman? It's like a Disney. It was like almost like Disney movie grade scary movies back in the day.
No,
it was about like an old pilgrim. I forget the exact story, but he's like this menacing looking giant pilgrim ghost entity called the Boogeyman. and he comes around every Halloween, I think, or something like that, or near Halloween. And the guy that plays Vigo, I think, in Ghostbusters, I'm pretty sure it's the same actor.
Nice.
I think it is. I might be totally pulling this out of my ass, but my childhood is telling me these things are connected.
That guy would be a really good boogeyman, so I agree. That would be good.
But I think I have a bias towards Vigo, is what I'm saying. Boy, you gotta check out his IMDb, all right? He's an actor, all right?
He's a thespian with Nicolas Cage. Yeah. I kind of wish they expanded on Vigo more, and instead of just leaving him as a painting that talks for the entire movie, I wish he kind of, I don't know, was more involved.
That's what I kind of loved about it. It's like the painting came in, they're just like, this shit's cursed. Like, no, it's not, dude. The curse happened. Well, what's going on? It's the cursed fucking painting, man.
Yeah, but then like the real villain was actually like his little dude who was like the little beta male that wanted to like kidnap and rape Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, that was supposed to be like the apostle of Vigo.
Right, and then he like appears as a witch on a broomstick at the end of the movie, and you're just like, okay.
Man, wild times, you know. They didn't know what they were. That just goes to show you, it didn't matter. Like back then, man, you just knew you had a good story. You could do shit like that. You're like, this motherfucker's going on a broomstick. You're like, are you sure about that? You're like, dude, did you read the rest of the script? This is fire, bro. like
you've clearly not done enough coke. All right, here's mine. Yeah, I miss the 80s. It was a great time for movie making.
Please refer to Predator 1 and 2.
Then that brings us to our final, the D rank, which is the Slimer. And this could also be controversial, but I just want to put out there, I like Slimer, especially the animated Slimer from the cartoon. However, he's a joke. He is not a real villain. He's like a little pet thing, and he's cool. But when you compare him to other villains, it's appropriate to put him at D rank. He's not really a villain. He's like a punchline. That's what Slimer is. He's laughable, which is what D rank stands for. Laughable.
I always think it would have been funny if like the Ghostbusters universe was fleshed out more. That Slimer got like a redemption arc where he got like a super power up, and he's just like, you fucking Ghostbusters always punked on me, but now it's time to flex on you.
There actually is a lot of Slimer content in the cartoon that borders what you're talking about.
Borders, but not quite a power up. He's still a punk, it sounds like. Just by the tone you're talking.
Yeah. Well, they kind of turn him into like Lassie in the cartoon. Like he becomes like really like a dog. Like he's like the dog, pet dog of the team. It's interesting.
What is Lassie?
What is Lassie?
What breed is Lassie?
Golden Retriever.
No.
Yeah.
No, no, Lassie's like a long hair. Like...
I'm not a dog person. I always thought Lassie was a Golden Retriever.
No, it's... Anyways, that breed, autistic as hell.
Well,
Lassie is autistic. So you're saying Slimer is just playing like this autistic kid
for sure.
As follows the Ghostbusters.
His tongue hangs out of his mouth. I mean, come on. They're choreographing it.
Yeah, he is a little isn't he?
The fat R word would be used if it weren't 2021.
It's a fat R.
Wait a second. Checks my notes. 2022 Broadcaster Nickels, which means it's time.
Retard's back.
First, we're bringing retard back. All right, it's a word again. Congratulations, you're welcome.
First at the crack cellar, you're welcome.
Number 2, it's time for the second annual Crack Cellar Awards, Broadcaster Nickels, and we're going to start off with the surprise of the year. So 2021 had a few surprises, a few things that maybe were a little better than you expected. So out of all that, what is the thing that we reviewed that was better than you expected to the highest degree?
Midnight Mass.
So you had pre-existing expectations of Midnight Mass.
Yeah, just because I don't watch a lot of shows,
Oh,
you
is it
know,
because it was a
and
Netflix show, so you immediately just went to this is
yeah, and I
garbage?
also and I also don't support communist foundations
Mm,
and companies like Netflix, so I have to
correct.
go through certain means to watch certain shows, which includes sailing seas, which I may or may not be on the ship. But anyways, Midnight Mass, especially just based on the first 10 minutes of that show, I was like, "What the fuck is this? This looks like some drama, One Tree Hill type bullshit on an island." And then
Then you saw the ghost girl show up. You're like, okay.
yeah, yeah, dude. Well, the first time Ghost Girl showed up in the prison, I was like, okay, dude, it's still like, okay, One Tree Hill with some edge on it, okay. But then when Ghost Girl kept showing up and he was haunted, I was like, all right, this is kind of dark. But it's such a great show.
Yeah.
That was by far, I think. I mean, next, it's not quite the best thing I saw all year, but it's damn close.
Hmm.
It's really close.
Yeah. My surprise of the year is Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
No?
For me, I love the original Dune movie. I've already talked about that on previous episodes. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. The Sting is my boy and always will be, and I still hope he comes in Dune Part 2 for our Cellar crackpot prediction. That was a good one too, by the way. If you want a good crackpot prediction, go watch that Dune review. We had a few of them that were pretty good, and yeah, I just thought Dune was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting to be a 2021 sort of just melodramatic, woke, sort of we're too afraid to do anything really out there, so we're just going to milk toast the fuck out of this. We got fucking Jason Momoa here. And it's just like all the writing on the wall to me was this is going to be a dud. And I watch it and I'm just like, wow, this
Like,
is
yeah,
one
Jason
of
Momoa, that's funny. Jason Momoa's there.
yeah. And I watch it, I'm just like, oh, this is really one of the best movies I've seen in at least a year. Like it was really, really good. And that shocked me, honestly. I thought it was going to be mediocre at best. And another small shout out to Dune. I think it had the best soundtrack of the year as well for anything that I played, watched. It had an amazing soundtrack.
Well, I think Dennis, I never had any doubt that that guy was going to bring something crazy to Dune because just watching Blade Runner, which some people may or may not like, but the tone at least he brought to 24, what was it? 2047?
I think it was 2042.
Whatever.
That's what my
Whatever.
brain wants to say is 2042.
Yeah, whatever it was. There was a few marks or check boxes that he ticked, usually that is associated with white nationalism and all the bad things that you can't be anymore, which is a white lead.
Mm-hmm.
That scene where they go into the prostitute alley and like there's just people banging on the wall. The white female trying to like seduce her white male robot. Like, there's just certain scenes in there where you're just like, this isn't something you'd see in woke films or like even a woke director trying to do. So,
oh yeah. Yeah, he's not woke at all, and I think that really served Dune well. There's nothing really woke about it, and yeah, I just thought that was a masterpiece of a movie, Dune, and I was not expecting that at all. But Broadcaster, there's also a Disappointment of the Year award, and this one,
I think we both have the same one.
I have a feeling we do
it.
too, but you know what, Broadcaster, you're gonna go first. Tell me, what is your Disappointment of the Year?
I'll tell you, kids, don't go chasing waterfalls. Because Candyman was the biggest shit pile in the world.
Oh, shit. That's funny. That actually isn't my disappointment of the year.
Really?
No, because I went into it with low X. Dude, I saw that train wreck coming 8 miles away, bro. I swear to God, like, I just had this spidey sense, this tingling in my core that was dreading Candyman. I had Candyman sitting on my computer for a month, and I am a Candyman's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I had like this dread about it, like this anxiety, like, fuck, I have to watch it, but I know it's not going to be good. And
Tony said it was going to be good. Tony lied to us.
Yeah, that movie was a piece of shit, though, for sure. Wow. I mean, even if you had really low expectations, it could still be your disappointment of the year. I see that, actually, now that I really reason through it, because this was just one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
The ending to that movie was so bad. Like,
I laugh thinking about
he's
it.
just like on the room. He's like, I survived. I get in the room, and then he just falls. Oh my God, no! And then the cops just busted the door. Freeze, motherfucker! Boom, 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 boom. It's like, what the fuck just happened? It's like we went from a shitty Candyman movie to fucking black white cop on black man crime, you know. It's just like real fast, like super fast, like some BLM type actions went down within the last 2 minutes in the movie.
Yeah, it went from movie to woke after school special in 0.05 seconds.
And then Tony Todd just shows up at the very end. He's
For
like,
no
"No,
reason.
guys, I promise it's cool." And it's like, "No, it's not, Tony. You lied to us."
Someone should really like take that clip of him in it, like the 22 seconds he's in the movie, and just paste over it. It just says, "I needed a check," and that just be that line. Because that's what it was, man. Our boy Tony Todd needed some money, and Jordan Peele, he tossed him a few. He's like, listen, I need a stamp of approval on this steaming pile of shit. Do you want some money, Tony Todd? But Broadcaster, my disappointment of the year is Matrix 4. And you know what? You could make the same argument I just made with Candyman. Say you went in with low expectations, so you saw it coming. I should have saw it coming. There were red flags out the ass in every direction, granted. But my heart just wanted to believe that movie was going to be good. All the way to the day I watched it, I was just so full of hope. Like, no, you know what? This is going to be one of those gotcha moments, like where they want you to think it's going to be bad, then you go in and it blows you away, and like it wasn't that. It was just it wasn't as bad as Candyman. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would take Matrix 4 over Candyman any day of the week as a movie, but it was still like coming off of The Matrix just being one of the most groundbreaking instrumental movies of my adolescence to being this weird exposition about, oh, they made me make another sequel. I don't want to, but if I don't do it, they're going to let someone else do it. So I'm just going to make this snarky sequel and have all this meta in it. And it's just like, man, what it could have been if Lana Wachowski actually wanted to make a real follow-up to that movie instead of just a sort of revenge sequel, which is what it feels like to me. I feel like that whole movie was just made to say F you to Warner Brothers.
Really? Because I think it felt like an F you to a lot of things.
Well, the fans for sure too, yeah.
It felt like an F you to the actors. It felt like an FU to one of the Wachowskis. It felt like an FU to Hollywood. It felt like
an FU to your childhood.
An FU to me, my childhood.
Yeah, it for sure. All of the above.
One of my favorite memories of my childhood is watching The Matrix 1 with my dad in the drive-ins in 1999. Like, that was one of the coolest movies I ever got to see in the drive-ins. I was like, it was mind-boggling, like how cool that movie was, and how shitty the next two became. 3 now.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't like Matrix 2, and people always tell me, "Oh, you should watch it again," and I always tell them, "I have watched it again." I've watched it a
Yeah,
lot of
watch
times. It
it.
never gets better.
I
It's
have
just
reviewed the footage. Okay.
when Matrix 4 like has like those meta scenes in the game developer room with them being like, "I have one word for you, bullet time," or whatever. That's what Matrix 2 was. They literally had that meeting when they were making Matrix 2. They're like, we're doing bullet time, and that's what this movie is. It's just kung fu and bullet time and non-stop pointless action scenes that lead nowhere.
I read an article like yesterday too that was saying that Agent Smith's character in that movie was actually written for Hugo Weaving.
Oh, sure it was.
But Hugo Weaving, I guess, for some reason, and couldn't do it. And I was like, yeah, because
he's a fucking thespian. All right?
You don't want me to connect that steaming pile of shit. There's no way.
Man. Yeah.
If Hugo Weaving was a part of that movie, I think I really would have just lost faith in movies altogether. Like big budget movies, like just I would have been like, okay, well, it's over. Because if Hugo Weaving's signing on for this trash, then I don't know anymore.
Mm.
You know, a lot of people say Cloud Atlas was trash, but at least I don't know.
I thought most of it was trash, but I really liked the part of Cloud Atlas I liked was the part with the freed slave and the version of Tom Hanks that was like poisoning that dude on the boat.
Yeah, dude, that
like
was my favorite part too.
That was the movie
teeth.
for me. Yeah, that was the only part of the movie I liked. I loved that part, and I thought most of the movie was god awful.
Yeah, you're spot on. That was definitely my favorite part. That and what's his name, that British actor that ends up being like one of the savages with Hugo on the island, and they have like a war.
Yeah.
That was my second favorite.
Yeah, there are a few good spots, but overall, I thought that was sort of like
that was a better time with better Wachowskis.
Yeah. All right, broadcaster. Well, we also have another award. It's called the Bullet Dodge of the Year, and this is the worst thing you have seen or played in 2021 that we did not cover on the podcast. And I will ask you, what is your Bullet Dodge of the Year?
This one hurts me a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Hurts me deep down because it's been with me for a long time. And, you know, it's also the only Steam game I've ever refunded.
Oh, wow.
And, it also made me learn that you can get a Steam game refunded really easy.
Yes,
and it kind of made me feel for like small indie game developers where they probably just can get fucked.
Oh, they do all the time.
So don't abuse that, please. That's fucked up. But nonetheless, I did it because I hated this game so much, and it broke my heart. And it's Guilty Gear Strife. I truly feel like Guilty Gear. There's a few games, and it's not just reserved for 2D fighters or fighting genre in general. It's for FPSs, it can be for action adventures, it can even be for MMOs. And it's called Twitch gaming. You know, where there's a certain level of the gaming where you like you can call it end game or the highest level of play, but it involves the player having to be really good at Twitch inputs. You know, and Guilty Gear was the first game for me that was that. It got me into like a flow zen state. You know, it showed me that like you can get really good at something, like you can hone something really, really well, like a skill in Guilty Gear or in any game, whatever one you fall in love. It was just Guilty Gear for me, but it was the Twitch aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was like that for years, and I could always translate my skill from each Guilty Gear to Guilty Gear. That's just how it worked. And then Guilty Gear Strive came along. And I feel like maybe it was a mixture of them losing the license for a while. Maybe it was them getting contaminated by Blaze Blue. But in my honest opinion, it feels like they're trying to replicate something more akin to Street Fighter. And that pisses me off on a very fundamental core. Like, I can't, I just, it seems like the absolute opposite direction of what Guilty Gear is.
Yeah.
To slow down the combat, slow down jumps, make blocking super like technical and precise. Like, it's not just like holding back and barely getting down when a low block comes in. Like, you have to be on it to get the block on. And it wasn't Guilty Gear for me. It had the name and the skins. It was like Leatherface, dude, just like running around with a mask.
Yeah.
It really pissed me off because I blindly seeing Guilty Gear. I was like, oh shit, Guilty Gear's coming out. Didn't really look at any of the footage. I'm just like, this slipped under my radar. I didn't know a new Guilty Gear was coming out. And I bought the $90 Ultimate Edition, to get all the stuff.
That's funny.
And which it pissed me off even more in the end. I was like, okay, no bacon, no justice, no Johnny, no jam, no like go on and on and on.
And there still isn't, by the way. Every single DLC character they've added since it came out has been either a brand new character or a character from like XRD Rev 2 or something. You know what I mean? Like, none of like the old school characters that have been left out have been added since.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a very strong point on why you would not like the game. Most fans would not like the game, but that's just, I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg. The core gameplay to me is just fundamentally wrong in Guilty Gear Strive. Guilty Gear mode disappeared quite some time ago, and I feel like that
form of Guilty Gear.
I feel like that was the first sign, of the end. Because when that disappeared, it was like, okay. But then they turned up the regular mode up just a little bit to replace it, and then there was like, there's one mode now. And then they lost the license. They started making Blaze Blue. And this is my last note on the game in itself. And we talked about this off the mic like a week or two ago, I think. Is that the new characters that have been showing up ever since, I'd say, as far back as post X2, anything past X2 Reloaded, these characters are not like, it's like they're not Daisuke, they're not. It's like they're saying Daisuke is there, but he's not. Or like Daisuke had like a Shadow Rider or somebody else that his real muse, his real inspiration in the background that he's not telling people about. That's not there anymore because ever since Reloaded, all the characters don't feel like they're part of the universe all the other original characters were a part of. At all. Even though all the characters are so separated and weird and different, it just feels like go back to like X3 or whatever it was after Reloaded. The chick that came out that was like the chick on the hospital bed and it was alive. Mm-hmm. It just didn't fit to me. It just seemed weird ever since going forward since then.
Yeah, I agree with you on a lot of it. One thing you didn't bring up is the soundtrack, which that's like the biggest red flag to me. No, I'm just like, bro, why are you playing Avenged Sevenfold in my Guilty Gear? Yeah, this is not right. Yeah. Like, what is happening right now?
Really sad shit.
And there are a few characters, by the way, including one that's a DLC character, where it's even worse than Avenged Sevenfold. It's like some sort of pop music. And boy, oh boy, man. Like, there's some of these DLC characters are just, it sucks too because they purposely make them OP. So as soon as they come out, everyone starts playing them and you have to listen to their theme music constantly. And this one character just had like this annoying, it reminded me of the Final Fantasy X-2 pop song. Remember that at the beginning of X2 with,
yeah, of course,
with the girls, the Britney Spears patrol.
I can never forget.
I swear it's just like
my
that.
Mind.
Yeah, it's just like that, man. It's so, yeah. The combat itself is definitely trying to be more like Street Fighter. I don't like the direction. I agree with you. I've gotten used to it and I've just kind of accepted it, but I agree with you. It's annoying the direction for them to take. And
I hope there's a huge retraction. I hope that they see, because I think a lot of people are in the same boat as me with Guilty Gear Strive. And I hope they see that, and I really hope they change course. And I hope the next Guilty Gear is a true fast-paced Twitch fighter, because that's what they were, and that's what made them famous.
Yep,
And
the speed. Guilty Gear is speed, just like Sonic the Hedgehog is speed.
If you can't double dash and jump and fly across the screen spamming punch and see that shield just go bang, 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 bang while it all goes slow-mo across all the way down to the ground, then what is Guilty Gear? You know? Like,
yeah. Agreed. That being said, Broadcaster, my bullet dodge of the year is Season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead. This was one of the worst seasons of any Walking Dead show, including Fear and the regular Walking Dead. I don't watch that beyond the world of Walking Dead teen bop bullshit that's also running, so I don't know how bad that is. I've heard it's cataclysmically bad, but I haven't watched it myself. But I will say that this was bad. They ruined every character in the show. Victor Strand, who has been in the show since season 1, they turned into like a comical villain that absolutely makes no sense in his character arc at all. It's like they just threw away 5 seasons of storyline and just changed him willy-nilly just into like this totally different character. And they did that with every other character. It's just not good, man. It was really, really, really bad. And the reason it sticks out is because season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead was really good. And it stood out as one of the better seasons of Walking Dead in at least the last 4 or 5 years across both shows. So for it to just take such a nosedive. And just one, I don't want to dwell on this too much because I know you don't even watch any Walking Dead stuff anymore. But at the end of season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead, they nuked Texas. So like a crazy cult leader basically nukes all of Texas with this submarine that he got, with, you know, whatever. Kind of an absurd concept.
Nuke just Texas?
Because the submarine was in Texas. It was a nuclear submarine that had a bunch of these missiles. He fired them all off at different parts of Texas. And so like I think like maybe a third of Texas got nuked. Maybe not the whole state, but a third.
Isn't Fear the Walk like what time? What's this like in the timeline of the universe?
I think
like,
it's supposed to.
Far in.
I think it's supposed to take place in like 2018 in the Walking Dead universe, but I don't really know. Either way, the thing I want to say about it is, okay, kind of campy, but a cool concept, a post-nuclear apocalyptic zombie apocalypse. I like the idea and concept. The execution of this was one of the worst executions of all fucking time. It makes absolutely no sense. There will be times where they're like so worried about radiation. They're like, oh, we can't take off our suit. The radiation will kill us instantly. Then like 2 scenes later, they'll just take off their suit randomly so that they can have FaceTime and talk on camera. And they'll like make some absurd statement like, the radiation's lower here so we can take our suits off. And it's like, bitch, it's the same spot as every other spot. It's so dumb.
It's so inhuman too. It's just like, is any human be like, oh, hell no. Like anybody watching it be like, fuck no.
Oh, it's so absurd. The way that they just like decide to stop respecting the nuclear fallout that supposedly exists in the world at random times is one of the most absurd things I've witnessed in television history. So
I won't be taking any part off until I go into a decontamination zone and I'm fucking rinsed.
yeah. And also like there'll be like outside on like these really obviously bad sets. Like it'll look like something from the original Star Trek from the 60s. That's how bad the set will look. And they'll just throw this really cheesy orange filter over it to make it look nuclear. It's bad.
Nice.
Bad. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, for every bullet dodge, there's a critical whiff, something that could have been, but we just didn't grasp it in our fingers until it was too late. The critical whiff of the year. What is the best thing you've seen or played in 2021 that we did not cover?
I think it'd be Cobra Kai.
Hmm. Really? So are you talking about the new season or the previous season? Because they both kind of came out in 2021, I think.
Well, I'm watching the newest season.
So you're
And
talking about the new season when you say that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, well, yeah,
The Terry Silver season.
yes, yes,
Ah,
dude.
our boy,
I don't want to
he's
give too
back.
much up because it's still I haven't finished it, and like it's solid.
It really is, man.
Gary Silver's back. He's still a psychopath. I think Kreese is even scared of him.
How far into it are you? What episode are you on?
I just got past where they're the Valley what's it called? All Valley Championships, the Cry Championships. So
Oh, so you were on the last episode then.
yeah, I haven't seen
Okay.
the last episode yet.
Oh man, that's something big happens in that episode. I agree with you though that that's a good choice. I didn't pick that as mine, but that's a great choice because Cobra Kai is one of these shows that on the one hand, you look at it and you're like, that's a kid's show. It's
Yeah.
nostalgia bait. You have all these reasons not to like it. And then you watch it and you're like, holy shit, this is good.
It's well crafted in that aspect though, because I think one of the weaknesses is like Stormy puts it like it's like Kid Degrassi mixed with like fan service for Karate Kid fans, and I was just like, and I'm like, it's so true, but it's almost so well done because he's delicately balancing both those, trying to get like new people in and old people in, and it's done. Probably one of the best I've seen, the best examples I've seen of it being done well.
Yeah. And for me, what makes me love it so much is Johnny Lawrence and William Zabka's portrayal of Johnny Lawrence from beginning to end. That guy is a legend. And every time there's a scene with him, I laugh almost every I can't believe how much I like that character because when I watched the original Karate Kid, I didn't like Johnny Lawrence. I was a kid and I liked fucking the main character, right? Like you're a kid.
You're a kid. You're rooting for the good guys.
Yeah, so it's like but then when you grow up and this Cobra Kai, and you're like, oh yeah, Cobra Kai. It's gonna be fucking Ralph Macchio and William Zabka as old dudes that are grumpy. I'm like, I'm okay with this. Let's watch this. And you're thinking you're gonna like, dude, the main character's named after me, Daniel LaRusso. Like it's like it's destined that I should like him more, but no, fuck Daniel LaRusso. I'm on.
I know he's such a loser. It's so funny as you get older, you're just like, dude,
Fuck
LaRusso, you're a fucking dweeb, bro. That dude at the very end, he's just like, I tell you. I see you did the circle. You circled the end. It's like you didn't teach us fishing for no reason. It's just like losers, dude. You are right though, because like the scene with when Miguel goes to Johnny's apartment and he's like just passed out drunk.
Yeah.
And he like puts him up on the bed. He's just like, I'm sorry, man. I love you, man. And he's like, Miguel's just like, he's trying to hold him. He's like, I love you too, man. I was fucking dying.
Just an all-time classic character. Like, I hope William Zabka gets like a resurgence in his career for Cobra Kai because he deserves it. I don't know what he's been doing from Karate Kid to Cobra Kai. I don't think he's been in much. I hope he gets a couple of roles from this because I have not enjoyed and liked a character in a TV show as much as him in a very long time.
My main prediction is, and what's the kid's the kid that got the new kid that got bullied, the black kid. I forget his name.
Yeah,
he got bullied by Daniel's kid.
The one that I don't know his name either.
Anyways, when he beats him up in the locker room and he smiles, I'm like, oh, that's a Terry Silver smile right there. Like, I'm just hoping next season Like, it's just the first episode's just Terry dyeing his hair black, tying in a ponytail, just like looking in the mirror, just like a psycho, and fucking his pupil behind him, just like I'm ready to beat some ass, Sensei.
Yeah, and for extra credit, they should really go get Glenn Howerton from Always Sunny to come on board as his sub sensei, like assistant.
He should be Glenn Howerton should come on board just to get beat up like that pedo adult kid that was hanging out with all the younger kids that Terry Silver beat up.
Oh yeah,
in a ritual.
Great scene. That was a great scene. That was one of my favorites of the season.
That was a transformation right there.
All right, broadcaster. Well, my critical width of the year is Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. And that is because I think Endwalker not silently, it's like blown up in popularity, but still below the boards a little bit, I think, low key, has one of the greatest JRPG storylines in the history of all JRPGs, period. Not just like MMOs or whatever. And I think a lot of people are never going to know that. And it just kind of pains me a little bit to know like that there's probably like 80% of just the Final Fantasy fan base. Let's not even just go into the overall fan base of JRPGs, but just in the Final Fantasy fan base alone, 80% probably that will never ever touch it just simply because it's an MMORPG.
Yeah. I think it's a curse with MMOs, you know? If you make a super successful MMO, you're just going to have that because MMOs are for nerds. That's not cool.
Thank you, Sensei Lawrence. It's so true, though. Like, even JRPG fans will look down on MMO fans as like a subclass of nerds.
I do like. I'm not them though. It's like the communication world, and then you start talking about ham radio people, and they're like, "Yeah, well, no, we're not them. There's something else."
Yeah. But it's crazy. Like the expansiveness. The part of it is just like having like this actually it's more like 8-year history of content behind it, and then you get this crescendo at the very end where you're like, yeah, FF14's always had a great storyline. It's always been good. I really liked Heaven's Ward as well. But there's never been anything like this where it's like you're 4 expansions deep and then all of a sudden you drop like this nuclear bomb that like is so pointed because only a certain amount of people will ever experience it, because not only is it in an MMO, but it's like the 4th expansion of an MMO. And when you get that deep in, new players are hard to come by. So it's like, it's really rewarding on one hand for the people that have stuck with it and are just like, holy shit, this is something that I would have never expected that we got. It's like, you wouldn't even think it's possible to exist a story like this in an MMORPG. But on the other hand, you're just like, man, what a waste. All these people that made this just like work of art, and like their potential viewership, readership, playership is so low. Just a sad thing. And, not much you can do about it, but there is something we can do about the turd of the year, Broadcaster Nickels. The turd of the year. This is the worst of the 2021 D ranks. You know, we've had a few D ranks this year, a few fat Ds, as I like to call them.
Yep.
Which one was the worst, Broadcaster? I want to hear it straight from your mouth.
We weren't talking about it. It wasn't too long ago we were talking about it, the Matrix 4.
Oh, shit.
For me, that movie was a steaming pile of trash, and it was easily... I mean, I thought Candyman was bad, right?
So you really think Matrix 4 is worse than Candyman?
Absolutely.
Oh,
are you kidding me? Dude, Matrix 4 was mockingly bad. like mockingly bad. Like he was mocking you. They were
Damn.
Dude, that bitch was like seriously going for the throat of some people. Like the way she was abusing the old scenes from the first movie. Coincidentally, not using scenes from the second or third movie. Cough, cough. The way she just made certain B characters like all of a sudden top dog the shit, and just didn't really talk about how some of the more important characters weren't there anymore. Let's see. I mean, what else? What's his name playing Morpheus?
Candyman playing Morpheus,
Replacing Hugo Weaving with fucking some fucking.
I think he's the CEO of Girls Gone Wild.
Yeah, he looks like some loser extra from a Workaholics episode. You know, like
that's a good call. I like that.
It's just so bad, and I could go on and on, but the nice robots, like the butterfly robot or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know. It's just. Yeah. It just oh yeah, Neo or Thomas Anderson being a video game developer.
I like that, man.
Inside the making another Matrix inside the Matrix. Big brain move. Oh no way, the Matrix didn't detect that. What shitty script writing? You know, like what do you mean the Matrix, like this all-knowing fucking computer software that's enslaved humanity for eons now, somehow doesn't know one NPC in the Matrix isn't making a brand new program that could destroy it? What the fuck?
It wasn't a tight plot, but you know. Trinity could fly, so it's okay. It's just like The Last Jedi where Leia could fly, remember? It's the same thing.
And we could talk about the woke traits in the movie, like, you know, cripple the white man, get black men and black women in here, make them strong. Like Niobe, like...
Oh, God. Niobe was the worst part of that movie.
No one gives a fuck about Niobe.
So bad.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. All right, broadcaster. Well, I didn't even give Matrix a D, so that's not even my contention realm. But I get it. You know, I get it. Mine is Candyman.
The reverse.
It's hard for me to describe how much I hate Candyman.
You're older than me.
It brings emotions to my head that like sort of break decades of anti-rage conditioning that has fallen upon me due to marijuana. It's an odd one, man. It like brings me back to being like a 13-year-old that was punching people in the bathrooms of middle schools. I feel it, like my fist starts twitching. My eye starts twitching. Like I couldn't believe how much I hated that movie, like in a visceral way, to the point, like when you see like little kids spurging on video games and like throwing their controllers into TVs. I've never done that shit before. I've never been on that level. But the closest I've ever come to being on that level was when I watched Candyman. That movie is an insult to horror. It is an insult to Tony Todd, to the legacy of Candyman, to Clive Barker. It's an insult to everything I hold dear as a horror fan and a fan of movies, a fan of good writing. It is an after-school special in the least veiled way possible. That ending, which we talked about earlier, one of the worst endings in cinematic history. It's like watching the Titanic sink and then right as it's about to fall under the ocean, they drop a nuclear bomb on it for good measure. It's just holy shit levels of bad. So not only is Candyman my turd of the year, I think it could potentially be my turd of this entire podcast history. We'll see when it's all said and done, when we end this podcast. We'll see. But my prediction is that this might be my least favorite movie that we ever review ever. And with that, broadcaster, I'd like to ask you, what is your rock of the year? And this is that blue stuff, as Walter White would say. This is that high caliber rock?
Well, I think it's only fitting. Now, originally, I had a contingency here. I was going to bring up Dune. You use Dune as your surprise here, which I think allows me to not use that because we talked about it. It's been honored. Salute. But the real rock, the real creme, is none other than a Nick Cage classic, and it's Willy's Wonderland.
Oh, shit.
This movie...
Did you give Willy's Wonderland an S rank?
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure it did.
Oh, wow. I don't even remember that.
If I didn't, then I'm smoking crack.
Maybe you did. It's been a long time, but I know we rated it high. I know we rated both rated it high.
I gave it an S rank.
Okay. Damn.
But this movie is one of the... It's one of those gentle reminders who Nick Cage really is. Because this man, when people are like, Nick Cage does a bunch of movies, you can see him in like a C movie all the way to a AAA movie, you know, whatever they fucking call that. It's true. And he's one of the very few actors where you're like, you get what you pay for. If you pay, he'll work with you for $1,000, but you barely get him. You give him 10,000, you get a little bit more. You give him 100,000, now we're talking, you know, stuff like that. In Willy Wonderland, I think they just hit the right mark, the right ratio with Nick Cage because he didn't talk much.
He didn't talk at all. That was one of my favorite parts about it. It was like
only
a silent
made grunts.
movie for him.
He only made grunts and he drank suspicious amounts of soda / fictional alcohol. I'm not quite sure.
That was no. It was a fictional energy drink, but yeah, it might have been like a Four Loko situation. We're not sure.
He may have been crushing locos. But this movie, it's like Freddy's, Five Nights at Freddy's meets, God, I don't know, like trap, like one of those classic films, you know, where you're trapped in the theme park, you know, the killer clowns or whatever's coming after you, the maintenance guy that runs the carnival is like some serial killer or whatever, you know, some type thing meets Five Nights at Freddy's, you know, but Nick Cage is some type of anti-hero where he comes in, he's a mysterious guy that's just going to clean up to earn some money, silent. Some teenagers come in to fuck around. They're all getting murdered. And he's just like silly teenagers. I'm just trying to do my job. Just an honest man. Playing some pinball, crushing locos, and cleaning the place up.
I really like that movie too.
It's just it's crazy. It's hard to describe the movie because it's just wild.
It is wild.
It kind of reminds me of a video. It's like the closest thing to playing a video game while watching a movie, I think. You just see these elements of a video game, like the energy drink, you know, where it's like, that looks like it's something you'd use constantly in a video game to heal. You know, like you'd just be drinking those and finding those everywhere. And like the way they implemented it in the movie and the way he like goes back to the pinball machine, it's almost like a save. You know, like it was weird.
Yeah,
there's certain things about that movie I really related to.
It's almost like if R.L. Stine made a Duke Nukem game.
Yeah.
Like I could just see Nick Cage playing Duke Nukem after watching Willy's Wonderland. It's almost like his audition to play Duke Nukem in a movie. All the way down to like his little fucking victory dance on the pinball machine. It was just all perfect.
Yeah.
But Broadcaster, my rock of the year is actually one we talked about earlier as well, one that you brought up, and that would be Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass, to me, is the best thing that I have consumed in 2021 in terms of storytelling, in terms of direction, in terms of just overall impact. There's a lot you could say about that show. It's poignant, it's quick, it cuts quickly. It's not overdrawn, it's very sharp. It has both very crazy moments and also some very solemn moments. It has slow pacing, then it has really fast pacing. It does so much in 7 episodes that I will remember those 7 episodes much more than I will remember 5 seasons of other shows. It just had this like this One Punch Man style impact where you're just like, holy shit, what just happened? It went so fast. It was so crazy. And the variety in which it does it to you is what really appealed to me. Like it made me laugh when you called it One Tree Hill. The One Tree Hill comparison early on, because I remember thinking something similar in the first episode or two. I'm like, interesting, but I'm not sure where this is going. But then you get to the point where you realize the father isn't what he seems, and like everything just sort of becomes like this mystery novel. And it even then, like the episodes following, it's like it's good, but it's like it's all normal still. This show it starts very, very normal to the point where you'd call it One Tree Hill, and it gets good, but still normal. And then it just goes instantly into from dusk till dawn. All of a sudden, George Clooney is fighting off vampire prostitutes in a bar that's been boarded up, and like every blood is flying everywhere, carnage is flying everywhere. Shit just goes off the rails in such a crazy way. It's hard to measure the impact of stuff like that. We're talking about stuff like the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones.
For sure. This movie, the 7 episodes in this television show is definitely akin to some of the best Game of Thrones episodes. There's no doubt about it. Like the feeling you get from watching, at least, I mean, when's it really take off? Episode 4, I think, is when you start to really get an idea of what's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's just fucking a roller coaster from there on. It's crazy.
It's one of the craziest roller coasters you can ever step foot on. Like, I've seen so much TV. I've seen so many movies. For something to stand out the way this did is just, it's fighting against a lot of competitors. And when I really try and rack my brain on television shows that have done what Midnight Mass has done, it's a small crew, man. Like I already brought up Game of Thrones. There aren't too many others. It's really rare company.
Yeah. It's hard. I don't want to like disparage the whole cast because I think everyone did pretty much a great job. But to be honest, bro, the preacher, Monsignor Pruitt, I forget his name. I think it's like, he has a weird name. It's like Hamish or something, I think. The actual actor's name. I'm not saying, don't want to disparage the guy, but he has an odd name. But dude, that guy, he was he was the series for me.
Oh,
he was really also good in Legion, but I mean, he was great in Legion, but dude, in this series, just his cadence and everything was just his mannerisms, the way he was like fighting off his vampiric nature. It's just like
it was so good.
He's just like sweating, and he's just like, I just want to. Just come, just give me come on, give me a, and just like, don't be scared. And everyone's just like looking at him, sweating, like, you sure you're all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Wow, you smell really good.
God, that was a great scene.
And then the fucking guy that crippled the girl, he just pushes him back. And when he pushes him back and he falls over the stool, and he's just like, oh no. That was one of the greatest acting scenes I've seen in a long time. It was just so well done. He's just like, oops.
Oops. Yeah. And like there's so many scenes like that. Like just think about on the other end of the spectrum, The scene where the main character takes his girlfriend out on the boat when he discovers everything, when he figures out the truth, and he takes her out on the boat to commit suicide in front of her like that. Like that scene is so impactful and so crazy, and it's only like the 5th best scene in the movie or the TV series. That would be the best scene in most TV series.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's an embarrassment of riches for Midnight Mass. And,
all the characters, like almost every single one, have great evolutions too. Like in 7 episodes, almost every single character that has any good amount of screen time has quite the story arc for 7 episodes.
Yeah, there's nothing wasted. In a 7-episode show, there's just nothing wasted.
Good television.
Indeed. All right, broadcaster.
Daddy says this water comes from a glacier.
2021 was a pretty decent year, I guess, for cinema and for not really as much for video, but we'll take what we can get. 2022, on the other hand, broadcaster, I have high hopes for. What about you?
Did you said 2024? Is that what you just said?
We'll go with that.
I can agree. Yeah, for sure. Give it 2 years, no doubt. Things will cool down. We'll get some good shit. Right now, I think we're going to be in a desert for the next 2 years.
Oh, all right. Well, on that...
It takes a long time for good things to cook, man. Good ideas to ferment, bake. And I think right now, we're not even out of the period where good things are allowed to be written or produced. We're just starting to get out of that phase. So hopefully soon, we'll have better things on the horizon.
Well, on that promising note, broadcaster Nickels, are you ready to get to our review of Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Absolutely not.
Make it so.
What's that? You want more crack, Cellar? This is good. Join your lords on Twitter at The Crack Cellar and Facebook.com/The Crack Cellar.
Hey, you over there. Are you a straight-up Chad or a strong woman? Well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and your favorite podcasting app. Or, if you're a straight-up beta cuck, find us on YouTube with the rest of the Cloud Chasers. And we're back with our review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. And the creator of this movie extravaganza describes it as the following. When a single mom and her 2 kids arrive in a small town, they begin to discover their connection to the original Ghostbusters and the secret legacy their grandfather left behind. Broadcaster Nickels. Once upon a time, we were supposed to get an actual Ghostbusters 3. And from there, we went into Purgatory, then to the 7th layer of Hell, where the female Ghostbusters reboot emerged from. Now we're climbing out of the pits like Anima from FF10. But are we? What do you think about Ghostbusters Afterlife? Did you like it?
50-50 for me.
Oh, really?
Maybe not. It was 50-50. Not quite sure. There's scenes where I absolutely love it. And there's scenes where I absolutely fucking hate it. Mainly everything with the kids I hate. Besides the car chase scene.
That was pretty good.
I think the thing that pissed me off the most about the movie going in for most of it was Phoebe. Is that her name?
The female kid?
Yeah.
You didn't like
name?
Phoebe?
she's like super condescending. It was like annoying.
Wow. She
I
was
don't
one of my
know.
favorite parts of the movie. That's crazy.
It was just like at some point, it was like kind of cool at the beginning. And it's like, all right, she's pretty cool. And then it was just like every scene where it was, especially the one with her and Paul Rudd, the substitute teacher, in the when they're explaining like waveforms or whatever on the chalkboard, and she like makes some geometry joke and winks, and he's just like, "Did you make a geometry joke?" And she's just like, "Yes, that's why I winked." It's just like, okay, like this
She's
isn't how
supposed
kids
to be,
talk.
she's supposed to be a younger female Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. That's what she is. That's her character. Did you ever
Yeah,
watch Big Bang Theory?
No, I didn't like it.
Okay. Well, she is literally Sheldon, and it worked for me. I really liked her character. I actually thought it was hilarious how she made fucking Stranger Things boy like afterthought in the movie. She like stole the show from him a little
That was
bit.
probably the one good thing she did for me in the movie. She just took away the limelight from that loser.
Yeah, that kid, I'll give him credit. He plays a desperate, like thirsty beta cuck really well in certain
That
scenes.
was honestly, I think what you're referencing right now is my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Are you talking about the jail scene?
No, that one's pretty good. That one's pretty funny.
Dude,
but
the
no,
way
it's a
he
big-
jumps up in the jail cell when he realizes she's there and like shakes his head sideways and does that creepy smile. Dude, that was some of like the best beta cuck acting I've ever seen in my life. That was good.
That was pretty funny. My favorite part was when fucking at the beginning when he tries to pick up on that chick at the diner, and he's like, I filled out this application. It was like being a fucking loser. And those two, the cook in the background, he's like, the meat, I don't know. I think the meat's bad. And then the other one's just like, squeeze. And then right after, they just look over and he's just like, that was really pathetic, man. It's like, yeah, Trevor, that really was pathetic, man.
You know what that was from, right?
No.
Waiting. Ryan Reynolds' breakout hit Waiting with Justin Long.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, dude, you remember
Thing from
Dane
Waiting?
Cook? Dane Cook was the cook that was that character. Like that's totally based off of Dane Cook's character in Waiting. It was great though. I love that too.
Yeah, that was pretty much any scene making fun of that kid was my favorite scene. Pretty much.
The whole movie kind of makes fun of him. If it
Well,
literally
check mark, make fun of the white kid.
yeah,
Cuck him.
he does absolutely nothing in this movie except for beta thirst after the strong BIPOC woman and fix Ecto-1. Which, if you remove the entire him fixing Ecto-1 part of this movie, he is an extra, basically.
Yeah. Well, this whole movie is pretty much filled with extra. And that's kind of my main point. That this movie still suffers slightly from what 2016 suffered from. Is that
Really?
at the end of the day, it's just not a good story. They're
I
relying
thought the story
on
was good.
nostalgia
Really.
too much in this movie. Like,
Well,
Dan
there's a
Aykroyd
lot of
being
nostalgia.
called out of nowhere, And I really did enjoy the fact that Dan Aykroyd was brushing off crystals when he answered the phone. I'm like, that's real right there. My man, that's actually probably his shop.
This is a
His
documentary,
crystals.
not a
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. And but it just seemed like so out of nowhere, and then they all show up at the end, and I don't know. And then the extra credit scenes where what's his name is just like, I'm a businessman, but I've always believed in the Ghostbusters.
I actually liked that part because it kind of it was almost like a backstory to Umbrella Corporation. Like you just feel like
yeah, if they were playing the Umbrella music the whole time that monologue was going on, that would have been dope. Just the kids pulling up in the car, and he's just like, "It's yours now."
yeah. I really felt like they were that all that post-credit stuff with Winston, I really thought was building a sequel where he's going to be like the CEO of Umbrella and unleash like hell on Earth on accident and become the villain himself. I really thought that's what it was setting up, but
Yeah. I don't know. I saw like the mom and Paul Rudd's character like becoming Gozer. I mean, sorry, not Gozer, but Zool and Keymaster. I just saw that coming from a mile away, and I thought, I don't know, Gozer being the thing again, like it's just, especially after when I saw the beginning and the way the farmer, what's his name?
Farmer.
Was that supposed to be Egon in the beginning? That was
100% Egon.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, they call him the ghost farmer or whatever, or I don't remember. But when he gets banished or whatever, and you see like the spirit fly away or whatever, I was like, oh, okay, afterlife. Here we go. There's going to be like some complex like afterlife where he's going to like be like somehow connected to this ghost demon or whatever. And then it just ended up all being fucking Gozer.
Well, no, I disagree with you there because I think that you're right on your initial impression. First, I just want to say big props to this movie for explaining the subtitle in the intro. I love it when movies and anything does that. And like as soon as Egon dies in his old rocking chair after he gets fucking one shot by Gozer, I'm not really clear on that part if it was Gozer who killed him or one of the hounds. But either way, when he dies there, and then you see the ectometer start to spring up, and then it fades to black and it says Ghostbusters Afterlife, I'm like, yes, that is perfect, because now you know exactly why this is called Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's about Egon Spengler's afterlife. And I would argue, and I know you're going to disagree with me on this, that the whole rest of the movie is about Egon Spengler's afterlife. Him trying to attract the family back to the farmhouse, guide them to find Ecto-1 in the secret basement with all the stuff, make them figure out the plan, make them execute the plan, and then have his like happy reunion at the end where he can go to heaven or wherever the hell he thinks he's going. Like, I really thought that's exactly what it was. But you don't think so?
Well, yeah. Well, no, that's what they want it to be, but
you just don't think they executed it well?
No, it just feels shoehorned. They're just like, I mean, it was good. It was creatively. It was cool. The way they executed, they're like, well, we can use, the actor that played Egon, his death and play it into the character's death, and we can introduce this new kid, which will is a good character building, they did it right, but it just feels like it was a shitty story wrapped around good nostalgia to me. Like nothing stands on its own unless you're tying it to what you liked about the original two Ghostbusters.
I don't know, man.
Seeing the original actors there, seeing like the creative use of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Minis, seeing the old Ghostbuster mobile in the or Ecto-1 in the car chase scene, like that. All of that is because you like Ecto-1, you like those actors, you like seeing the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but it's like all of it's really just nonsense. It's not like seeing Ghostbusters 1 and 2 again, where you're actually like super intrigued on how the Ghostbusters storyline is going to develop, like seeing the purple ooze underneath New York and it's changing everybody and you're thinking that everyone's just going to kill you. That stuff was cool. Minus the broomstick flying ship. Like in this movie, you don't get it. The cinematography was great in this movie. I will say that, but you just don't get any of like the sense of adventure that you do. You're just like, all right, this is a nostalgia movie with a kickstart for the new generation. That you've seen in so many movies now.
That's crazy, because I feel the opposite of you. I feel like this movie actually had more of a sense of adventure than most movies nowadays do. It kind of gave me
Then why the fuck
Goonies
was
vibes at
Gozer at the
times.
end with the fucking Keymaster and fucking?
Well, okay, I'm all right. Let me say this.
It's
The
fucking. They even did the
final
same
part.
tropey finish of the first movie where fucking Bankman comes in, he does his little talk, you know.
I love. Okay,
And
you know what? I'm gonna tell you right
somehow,
now. You can call the final scene bad or good or whatever you want to say about it.
it was good.
I
Bad.
fucking loved Venkman's dialogue in that shit. It was so good. He didn't lose any of his edge. Like if you think about like how old he is now, it was like going back in time. Like the way he didn't forget the Venkman character. He was Venkman, dude. Like if you go back and watch those Ghostbusters movies, he's playing this. He's not playing Bill Murray. He's not, I'm just playing Groundhog's Day Bill Murray or every other Bill Murray. He was playing Venkman perfectly. I loved his dialogue.
Oh,
and I
no,
will,
he was. Yeah,
and
sure.
I will spread that to the rest of them too, to a lesser degree. Aykroyd, his little speech, like on behalf of the state of Oklahoma and the Wildlife and Fish Association,
he was
all
playing himself, bro.
that was
He
so
was-
good.
He was playing Dan Aykroyd. He wasn't playing his character.
And another thing I loved was just Winston. Winston was playing the exact same character too. He was like purposefully low key, kind of just quipping in randomly.
Like these crazy white people again.
and like, or I don't remember if it was Venkman or Aykroyd. And one of them was like, "I don't remember Ghostbusting be this fucking hard." And then Winston looks at him like, "I fucking do, bitch." like everything about that dialogue between them at the end, I thought was fucking gold.
Yeah.
Personally. Now, the thing that's controversial, I don't know if you want to talk about that now or save it for later, is our boy Egon Spengler coming back in ghost form.
Yeah, I don't really agree with digging up the dead.
There's a little Moff Tarkin in Rogue One going on here a little bit, and it's weird. I have mixed feelings on it. On one hand, seeing him there is really cathartic for me because Harold Ramis is one of my favorite actors, one of my favorite writers. He was my favorite Ghostbuster. When he died, there are a few actors that have died in my lifetime that really hit me hard. Alan Rickman was one. Harold Ramis is the other. Chris Farley was one too. There's a few of them, but like seeing him in such perfect CG, and then with like the other like that scene where it shows them all with the rifles on Gozer, and it's like a side view, and it like pans out, and you see all three of them. Then it shows the ghost form of Spengler also there.
Yeah, that was like some super Kamehameha shit.
Man, like I know it's probably cringe or whatever the fucking Gen Z people want to call me or whatever for thinking this, but like it hit my heartstrings, man. That scene, there was something about it that was just like, wow. I don't know, man. Maybe it's one of my boomer moments, but I loved that part. And I know I'll bet a lot of the criticism of this movie is probably my favorite parts of the movie, and I'm self-aware of that, you know. I understand that.
I think you just have, more of a love for Ghostbusters than I do.
Definitely. For sure.
I think I liked the first two Ghostbusters because they come from like that classic mid 80s, late 80s style film, where everything had kind of like a certain graininess to it and just felt old school. And when what's the word I'm looking for? The term I'm looking for, like pop scares or like pop-up scares, whatever you call them, jump scares.
Yeah.
When movies did that back then, there was almost like this grimy noir like feel just for a little bit, like the way the soundtrack played back then and stuff like that. That's why I like Ghostbusters. It's like those elements. And I feel like this new one didn't have any of that. It just feels like a new film, with
We're
Just
never getting the
Ghostbusters
80s
slapped
back,
on
Broadcaster Nickels. We're never getting that back,
That's not
unfortunately.
true. There's not. That's not true.
That's
There's
not
great things. There's
The
great things
80s will
coming
rise
out.
again.
Miami Vice still is on, brother. Dude, I was thinking about Miami Vice the other day, dude. That fucking show smacks. Dude, Don Johnson was ripping in.
Oh my god.
When they talk about the Doom guy ripping and tearing in modern day, like, no, Don Johnson was ripping and tearing in Miami Vice, dude.
For sure.
So anyways, let's pivot into a Miami Vice review.
Honestly, this Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, to me, it is to Ghostbusters what that recent Power Rangers movie was to the original Power Rangers. So do you remember the new Power Rangers movie that had
Oh yeah,
Walter White from Breaking Bad as Zordon?
Yeah, dude.
So, all right, so that movie, that Power Rangers movie, was not super well received. It was sort of like middling reception. When I watched it, I actually really liked it because to me, it bridged the gap between this is a movie for old people because everyone that liked Power Rangers is old now. Check. But they had just enough of kids stuff in there to allow a doorway for kids of today to watch it and understand it. But really, the bread and butter was the old people that really liked Power Rangers. I really liked the way that Goldar was done in that Power Rangers movie, similarly to the way I liked how Gozer was done in Afterlife. And I felt some of the same vibes from Ghostbusters Afterlife in not only the art direction and the storytelling in the direction, but even just in like the way that they colored the camera, you know what I mean? Like that Power Rangers movie had very stiff camera angles and it had very sort of offbeat saturation in the color scheme of the movie. And I felt Ghostbusters Afterlife had the exact same style going for it.
I mean, it's just well done modern film, like it. I think that's the main difference, though, is that now it's easier to make a film look good than it is to write a good film nowadays. And back then, it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But Power Rangers is unique in this situation because Power Rangers is the exact opposite of what I explained about Ghostbusters. Power Rangers back in the day is something from back in the day, it's not something I would want to replicate even closely in a modern day film or show. I would want to do a new take on on Power Rangers. So I think that was done pretty well. I like that movie. They killed the Blue Ranger off. They weren't afraid to like get dark for a little bit.
No,
and that's what gave that movie its edge.
But it still had some kid stuff. You know what I mean? Like me and you are both.
I mean,
old
Zordon
men
was a
now.
dick. Like the way they went through him being the original Red Power Ranger, and like sacrificing his team and fucking up and all that shit. You're like, damn, dude, this is dark.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. And I think one of the problems that we both have with modern movies that are sort of rebooting shit from our childhoods is that they make these things for kids today rather than the adults who liked it back in the day that actually want to see this.
Yeah.
And I thought that Ghostbusters Afterlife really maybe didn't hit the balance as perfect as Power Rangers did, but close, I thought. Because if you really think about it, all of the kid stuff was very truncated. They didn't dwell on it too much. Like, think about it like this. You saw Stranger Things boy at his job, once in the entire movie? You saw Phoebe at summer school once in the entire movie, right? Like, they didn't dwell on the minutia of the kid stuff. They just showed it once. We're done with it. Show it once, we're done with it. And what they dwelled on was sort of like the mythos of what's happening behind the scenes, which I liked.
For sure. I mean, it's just... I feel like it's just a softball pitch to set up the next movie with the kids, which are more important.
I kind of agree with that too.
And that's all it was. They're like, hey, look over here while we build this up, and you don't get as mad as if we just made the next movie purely kids, you know. And with the Power Rangers comparison, it was the exact opposite in my opinion. They were like, well, the audience we're going to bring to a modern day Power Rangers movie that we would want to take remotely serious would be just the kids that watched that shit back then, because no new kids want to watch Power Rangers of any kind. They don't know what it is. They don't want to know it. So it's like that's their road they go down. That's
the same with Ghostbusters.
Money. But with Ghostbusters,
no kids today know what Ghostbusters is.
Not so much. I mean, they did the 2016 all-female Ghostbusters, and then it became a social media fucking fiasco.
Oh, so that's a solid point. Interesting.
People know what Ghostbusters is now, and they almost like it for the wrong reasons, you know? So it's like,
where's
I don't
Thor
know.
at?
No one wants to actually, I don't know. It feels like this Ghostbuster movie was just trying to get the money from the real fans to keep it afloat and maintain the IP and kind of hoodwink everybody with the setup of the next generation, which is the super diverse cast. I don't know. It just I can't doubt the next movie is going to have Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and who plays Winston? What's his name?
Ernie Hudson. And by the way, just interrupt you real quick. Fun fact: the real Ghostbusters animated cartoon that we've talked about in our intro segment in this very episode, the real Ghostbusters were not played by any of the original cast except for Ernie Hudson. Ernie Hudson voice acted Winston in the real Ghostbusters.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
He's like, I'll take that money. Fuck it.
That's one of the reasons why I look at Ernie Hudson, like, even though he's not my favorite Ghostbuster, I look at him in a sort of different light. Because, like, he's been involved in, like, this meta way in both universes of the Ghostbusters. He's like this connecting chain.
Well, did, what's his name? Who played Egon?
Harold Ramis. No.
Did he write the cartoon?
No one who was involved with the movie was involved with the cartoon except for Ernie Hudson.
Really?
Yep,
wow.
He was the only one.
I wonder if there's some contention there.
I don't know. I think what happened is Ernie Hudson didn't make as much movie off the movie as the other actors did, and they offered him the cartoon, and he's just like, fuck it, I'm getting my money. I think that's what happened. But either way, it's this really cool little connecting chain between the movie universe and the cartoon universe. But
it's kind of weird.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
I
All right. Well, I want to give a little shout out to our boy Podcast. I thought he was my favorite kid in the movie. Maybe I'm biased because we're also podcasters, but that kid was fucking hilarious. Every scene he was in, I laughed. He was funny as fuck. I like him.
He was pretty good.
And I really like the final scene with Dan Aykroyd and him, where Dan Aykroyd just walks in like, congratulations, son. You just single-handedly stomped a Class 7 exotic entity that was about to destroy all life in the universe. And he's like, cool, bro. Can you be on my podcast? I loved that so much. That was so good. Oh, that was great.
Such a meta level comment. He's just like some fucking Gen Zer. Yeah, cool, boomer. So, would you be on my famous boomer? Would you be on my podcast?
Yeah, that kid was cool. It's funny. Stranger Things boy was the worst kid in the movie. I
think he tainted my initial take on the movie.
I wouldn't be surprised because he sucked.
I was just like, oh god, here we go.
The only thing he was good at was being unlikable. He was good at being unlikable.
He's like the. I don't really want to say this because I don't. That's terrible to say, but like the kid that played. Oh
boy.
Oh god, fuck. What's his name? God dang it, I forgot his name in Dune. Timothy Calamon. Who he plays the main guy? What he plays the main character in Dune? Fuck, what's his name? Artrades.
Oh wait, Timothy
Paul.
Chalamet is what you're talking about.
Shalamon or whatever.
Chalamet. There we go.
Yeah, he plays Paul Artrades,
Yeah.
and I just sometimes I look at the Stranger Things kid. I'm just like, God, you're like the failed test tube version of that kid. Like,
oh man, that's a good call. He is.
I look at both of them. I'm like, there's the good version. There's the bad version.
Yeah. It's like two dudes did like the fusion dance, and he's the bad version of the fusion dance. That failed.
Yeah, exactly. You're just lumpy, kid. You're kind of.
Yeah.
Anyways, the lump disappoints me in this movie.
he was not good at all. What did you think about the mom and not the dad, the mom and the summer teacher, Paul Rudd? The keymaster and the gatekeeper. What did you think about that?
I definitely was a fan of the mom. Mom is okay in my book.
Yeah, I like her. She's in a lot of stuff that I like. She was in
Paul
Fargo.
Rudd.
She was in The Leftovers. I think she was in something else too that I can't think of right now. But everything I've liked her. Oh yeah, The Sinner. She was in The Sinner with oh God, Lone Star from Spaceballs.
Okay.
Spacing
Bill
out on
Pullman?
his name. Yeah, Bill Pullman. There we go. She was in season 3 of The Sinner with Bill Pullman.
I forgot. Isn't that where he's like a piece of shit detective?
Yeah, man. That's a great
I need to
under
watch
the
that.
radar television show that you should watch. Like it's not the best thing you've ever seen in your life, but it's what you need, if that makes any sense. It's not what you want, it's what you need.
Yeah. That's a lot of television, isn't it?
No, actually, The Sinner, each season's only like 8 episodes. It's a short show, and there's only the 4th season just came out. So there are 4 8 to 10 episode seasons. So it's nothing crazy.
Is it over already?
The 4th season just finished like a month ago.
Is
It's
it the
ongoing.
final
There's a
season?
5th season coming.
Okay,
It's all based off of a book series.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that's
How
part of the
long?
reason why it's good, Broadcaster Nickels. Most stuff that's good on television is because it's based on a book.
Yeah, but usually we all know how that goes.
Well, yeah.
They don't
Too
finish
soon.
the last book, and then things get taken into other hands.
George R. R. Martin
and then,
starts making Bloodborne sequels. You know how it goes.
Fucking guy, dude.
One negative thing I'll say about Ghostbusters Afterlife, there are a few things that I didn't love about the movie, but one of the things I hated the most is the entire Walmart paid advertisement. That was fourth wall breaking in the worst way.
It ruined the Stay Puft scene.
It ruined the Stay Puft scene. It kind of tainted the movie in general. I want to say a little bit, not fully, but like
It would have been really cool if it would have been like Winston's, like that would have been his business he owned, was like a chain of supermarkets, and it was Winston's store, like Winston's. It's a big W, like Walmart, you know?
Yeah, and that's where like I'm as capitalist as it gets, and I'm no commie, but like there are a few rare situations where capitalism does get in the way of art, and I think this is one of those instances. Like Walmart should have had nothing to do with this. You just had a great idea. Call it Winston's. Would have been great. It was just like this really, really, really blatant live read style paid advertisement within a movie that just totally breaks the fourth wall in just like the worst way.
Though I think the worst part about it is that A, it's Walmart. B, the actor that's in the scene is Paul Rudd, which is like this huge actor that's been in huge commercials and stuff like that, which makes it feel even more commercially.
Yep.
And then on top of that, it was a Super Bowl ad.
Yep.
It was a commercial.
It
with
was.
Paul Rudd in it.
Yep.
and it's just like, God, wow. One of the coolest scenes is just turned into like literally like mummified into an ad.
Yeah. That being said, the actual part of the scene with the mini marshmallow men,
Yeah,
I
it's
loved
adorable.
that. I loved it when they were like trying to murder each other and cook each other into s'mores and shit. That was all
Dude,
awesome.
they're like the new Minions. Like mini Stay Puffs are like the new thing. They're hot now.
And speaking of my daughter, I watched this movie with my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, and she fucking loved the Marshmallow Men scene. Like, she was flipping out at that shit. So I'm pretty sure that whole shebang was designed to attract some impressionable youngsters.
Oh, for sure, no doubt.
This might be a Baby Yoda situation.
Yeah, they're just gonna grow up like remembering those scenes from their super, super young years, and they're going to get up to like 5 and 6, and those movies are going to be laying around the house, and then you're going to like, those are the movies you grow up watching and you remember,
Yep.
So it's definitely one of those movies for kids, no doubt about it. Just like Predator was for me, so.
We had a different pedigree.
Bunch of slack-jawed. Jesse the Body Ventura has taken a knee. He has fallen.
It's a different time. What do you think about the overall sort of arc between Paul Rudd and what's her name? I think her last name's Coon, Carrie Coon, the mom and the dad. Like, I think a lot of people are probably going to make that the part of the movie they hate the most. Like, that's probably the part people meme on. It's like,
Official Bankman and Sigourney Weaver romance gatekeeper / Zool thing.
Well, if we're being real about it, it's not quite Venkman, is it?
No.
Who was the Keymaster in the original Ghostbusters?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Dude.
Yep.
I totally forgot. They're missing our man Moranis, dude.
Yeah,
why did
man.
Moranis come back?
So yeah, exactly. So really, Paul Rudd is not playing Venkman. He's playing Rick Moranis. And
that would have been really funny if they actually like wrote that into the script. It's like Two-Spirit Moranis is like the younger, more attractive version of him.
Yeah. And I want to say too is I don't think Paul Rudd tried to channel Rick Moranis at all in most of his performance. However, at the very, very end, when they defeat Gozer and they crack him out of the shell of the fucking dog beast, right? He does a Rick Moranis impression in that scene. Did you notice that?
About his mannerisms?
Yeah, he's like Carrie Coon's like digging him out of the dog armor shell, and she's like, "Are you all right?" And he's just like, yeah, my feet hurt from, traveling around and, dashing in the streets, but, yeah, I think I'm okay." Like, that was a total Rick Moranis impression that he was doing there.
I didn't really pick up on that.
He didn't do that in the rest of the movie. Like, he totally changed his performance in that one scene to match Rick Moranis from the original Ghostbusters, I noticed. But overall, what do you think about that relationship, that part of the movie? Did you like it, dislike it?
I mean, I tapped that, no doubt. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it was all right. It was all right. I don't know.
People are going to meme on Paul Rudd in this movie.
Well, they should. He's kind of like a cookie-cut actor at this point. He's like...
Well, they should.
He just plays... I think he's like the final culmination of like those actors that play themselves. Like, he's the final boss version, He's just like the ultimate version of that type of actor where he comes into a movie and it's like, it's Paul Rudd.
It's Paul Rudd.
I don't want to say he's not a bad actor because he's actually a really good actor, but
yeah,
I don't even think he was really. I didn't mind him at all in the movie, to be honest.
He was okay.
I'm just trying to make fun of him. He wasn't really a big point of contention with me.
Yeah.
I think mainly was just the feelings he brought on like more of a big Hollywood commercial sense, where I was talking earlier that Ghostbusters was supposed to feel like, almost indie in a way. Like it's not totally indie, but it's like just 4 dudes ghost busting.
We're just like, 4 dudes ghost busting.
It's not supposed to be this crazy groundbreaking like everyone's gonna love it movie, like it's 4 dudes catching ghosts. All right.
Yeah.
So I feel like Paul Rudd and his entity runs counter to that when he's in movies. He just brings a lot of big Hollywood weight and name in himself.
Yeah.
But the relationship, like him and the mom, I don't know. I thought it was well written. I thought it was cool how they kind of like paralleled Venkman and Sigourney Weaver's character. I forget her name. But
Dana Barrett.
So that was cool. I liked the way it was tasteful connections. There was tasteful connections.
It was tasteful. What do you think about the scene where he took the ghost trap that they brought to school that they thought was like a replica and he realized it was real? And then they like went into like the bus graveyard and like lit it off. And he's like, we need to go now. And they're like, you're an adult. He's like, and I'm liable. He just runs. I loved that scene.
It's real coming of age knowledge, kids. Remember that?
Yeah. That's what we call ancestral knowledge.
The cops are coming.
So,
close the cellar doors.
Did you ever play Ghostbusters the video game? It came out, I want to say, in like 2012. It's kind of old. It's almost a decade old. But supposedly, the Ghostbusters video game was the exact script for the Ghostbusters 3 movie that was never made.
What?
Yeah. Supposedly. I don't know if that's true or not, but that is what I was told, is that the Ghostbusters video game that came out in probably like 2012, 2011, 2013, in that neighborhood, is a video game based off of the script for Ghostbusters 3.
Wait a minute, that's the one that came out on the PS3 or
yes,
whatever,
it is. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's the one with the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man battle where you're burning him on the building. Yeah, I remember that.
You played that?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it.
So apparently Ivo Shandor, who is like the cult leader from this movie, who's like buried in that mausoleum to the fucking Gozer at the bottom of the mine shaft, who's played by the Allstate guy. Another fourth wall breaking thing that they really should have fixed. Like, that was not good. You should have recast that. Either way, Ivo Shandor apparently is the main villain from that Ghostbusters video game.
Really?
So if you take that logic and you accept it, that means that Ghostbusters Afterlife is actually Ghostbusters 4. It's a sequel to the video game that was supposed to be Ghostbusters 3, which I find interesting, if true.
That is interesting.
Because they really made sure to really ingrain Ivo Shandor into the storyline. Like, it wasn't just like some one-off, like, you see him in a coffin and he looks at you and scares you and that's it. Like, they talk about him a lot. They talk about how he is the one who built the Manhattan Tower from the original movie. They talk about how he built this town by himself, how every building's named out. Like, they went out of their way to establish him as like this sort of fabric layer character in the Ghostbusters universe.
He's never really been there besides that video game.
Exactly. I really wish I played that video game now before I watched this movie. Honestly, after I found that out, I was like,
actually, fuck. It probably hasn't aged that bad because I remember it wasn't a game that was trying to be super photorealistic. It was just trying to be a game that looked really good.
I wonder if it's on Steam.
And it was kind of cartoony, but kind of high budget cartoony, and the colors were really nice. I remember for the day, like they like all the neon colors for like the plasma or the was it the plasma gun? What do they call it?
Uh
The backpack gun. What do they call that fucking thing?
oh God, I'm blanking on that. What do they call it?
Anyways, the beams that come out of that, like they're super bright and neonish and cool looking. I wonder if they did an HD remaster that, it'd probably be pretty tight.
Maybe this movie will reignite interest in something like that.
I kind of want to check it out now because you just reminded me of it. I totally forgot that game existed because I didn't own it. I just played like a little bit of it at a game store or like one of my friends had it. I forgot how I played it, but
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they've ever actually named that gun before. Like, I'm trying to think. I don't remember them ever calling the gun anything.
Yeah, there's the Trapper, the Ecto one, fucking.
Well, they named the backpack. They call the backpack the Proton Pack, but they never call the gun anything. They just
the Proton gun, probably. Though.
Well, they don't call it that though. They've never called it that. Like, I've never heard a proton gun before. I just don't think they've ever named it. I really don't think they have. Honestly, now I'm really racking my brain. Maybe.
Yeah, they already they did remaster it. They remastered it last year.
Oh, is it on Steam?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the top of my list now.
$25.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Well, Broadcaster Nickels, any other parting shots before we get to our official ranking of this title?
Bring back Vigo. Bring back Rick Moranis. We need you. Get fucking dude. I'm telling you right now. Go get Mel. Make him a sandwich. Go bring him to your best sandwich shop. Okay, get him up, and then go tell him to get his ass moving on Spaceballs too.
Yeah.
And if they do make another Ghostbusters, come back, please, please, man. I miss you. We need you more than ever.
Would you find it interesting to know that IMDb ranks Ghostbusters Afterlife as the second best Ghostbusters movie? They rank it higher than the Ghostbusters female reboot, which I find absolutely true. And they also rank it higher than Ghostbusters 2 with your boy Vigo, which I put that in the debatable territory, but I don't scoff at it, but I think it's an argument. What do you think?
Listen, dude, I think all quadroons have their own opinions. I have to respect them. Okay, that's how it is. Not everyone's gonna, take a shit in the same toilet. Just the way it is.
All right, Broadcaster Nickels. As you know, here on the Crack Cellar podcast, we have an official, patented Ghostbusters rating system that was just invented yesterday. On that system, Broadcaster Nickels, what do you rate Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I'm gonna give it a B.
Gonna give it a gozer. Hey, that's that's topical.
It's repetitive, like Gozer in the movie. I'm afraid the movie just, I don't know what I want anymore. I feel like I'm just so jaded to new IPs being taken in a completely different angle than I want them to in this modern day that I can't even, when I see even remotely good versions of it being done, I can't perceive them. It's impossible for me to see at this point. I'm just like, God, it's happening again. It's over. Sometimes I think that's what's happening, but at the same time, I don't know. I have more insight than ever. I have more eyes. I can see them now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. That's why, like, when I watch The Matrix Resurrections, when I watch Ghostbusters Afterlife, these types of movies that are sequels to movies that are from 20 to 30 years ago that were pivotal to my childhood that are now, like, you go into them sort of defensively by
Yeah.
default. And at times I'm not sure, like, Matrix Resurrections is a great example. I'm not sure if the hate that we feel for that movie is warranted, but on the other end, I'm like, I'm not sure that it isn't either. It's a weird sort of like, we were alive at this time. These were pivotal movies to us. We kind of have a chip on our shoulder about them. We have higher expectations than just like some random person. But then on the other hand, when you go look at the other reviews out there, you will find no shortage of screaming fanboys who think that Matrix Resurrections is the greatest movie of all time. So it's like I kind of juggle with that a little bit. Like, am I
Those
just
are
some
Russian
jaded
bots.
old man? Am I fucking Clint Eastwood on that stage with that empty chair yelling at it saying, you ruined our medical system, Obama? Like, am I that guy? I don't know.
Yeah,
anymore.
you're definitely Clint Eastwood doing the finger gun at the Mexican kids walking by. I still think the scene in Gran Torino. Dude, Gran Torino, by the way, anybody hasn't seen that movie, go watch it. Phenomenal.
It's a classic.
But dude, when he's spitting on his porch, he's spitting the chewing tobacco, and then fucking the lady from the Korean family comes out, sits on the porch, and he just sees her, and he just makes that face, and she just hawks out this nasty giant ball of tobacco, just this fucking big old slime ball, and he's just like, it just like he got shook, dude. It's just like, dude, Dragon Lady just fucking outspat you, dude. You got intimidated, bro. I love that scene so much.
That's kind of like the Casablanca of our generation.
It was
Gran
really good movie.
Torino is just like one of those movies. Hard to describe how pivotal it is.
It was the first movie that made me like, it's like, man, being old's gonna be cool. Everyone's gonna let you just get away with anything.
I can't wait till I'm old.
You can just fucking put kids up against the fence and threaten them to death, and they'll be like, oh, that's just him being him. He's just an old man. Good time. Great oldies.
Well, broadcaster, I'm going to give it a Stay Puft. A melty Walmart brand Stay Puft, but a Stay Puft nonetheless. I didn't have the same problems you had with the movie. I definitely didn't think it was perfect. Not even close.
Still willing to set it on fire.
It's one of those movies where it's like, I sort of understand that my bias is what's making me give it an A. And like, if I was totally unbiased, I'd probably be giving it a B or maybe even a C. But there's just too much of that movie that I really enjoyed. And it's not just one scene or one part. I loved almost all of the movie. There were just a few parts where, and we talked about the Walmart scene. That's one of the big ones, but there's just a few parts where it's just like, no. And the entire role of Stranger Things boy was part of that as well. But I think if you really boil down the movie to what it is at its core, I really liked it. And I think the thing I really feel about this movie is that it did the opposite of what Matrix 4 did, where both of these movies are meta and self-referential. Matrix 4 went the route of making fun of its fan base, making fun of its own characters and its own story. Ghostbusters Afterlife did the exact opposite. It was so reverential to its own storyline, to its actors, and to its fan base in almost the complete opposite way. And something can be said for both. I actually enjoyed parts of Matrix 4. But I think that Matrix 4 was an insulting movie to the fan base, where I think Ghostbusters Afterlife, maybe it's not perfect, maybe it had some missteps, but it tried to be loyal to the fan base. It respected the fan base in ways maybe the fan base doesn't deserve, honestly. Like, the way that they talk about the characters, like the way that they talk about the Manhattan ghost stories, quote unquote, the way that they treat the source material, just, it feels much more reverential. And that, I think, gave it a soft spot in my heart. And with that, we'll close out.
Paul Rudd's a Scientologist.
Xenu versus Gozer. Mortal Kombat 12.
Fuck, bro. Now that's a story, dude. Man, if Hollywood was a bunch of pussies and they were really willing to drive home great stories, dude, we would get like Godzilla versus Kong. We'd be getting fucking Xenu versus Gozer right now.
Yeah.
Because that would be lit as fuck.
Yeah.
Imagine Gozer just doing a people's elbow into like the spirit volcano, and Xenu's just like, no.
Yeah, and then it pans to the commentators, and it's Matt and Trey from South Park.